have all been waiting for. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the press, persons watching this live stream on Facebook, JIS, and the PBCJ's YouTube platforms, my name is Cheryl Bromfield, Manager Corporate Communications and the Public Relations Division at the Ministry of Education, and it's an honor for me to guide you through this press conference. The primary exit profile results serve as a testament to the hard work, dedication, and resilience of our young students. This morning, we gather to celebrate their achievements, recognize their potential, and highlight the transformative power of education. I also want to use this opportunity to let everyone know that our thoughts, hearts, and prayers are with everyone today on this National Day of Mourning. I know that our minister will speak more on that. Our esteemed panel this morning are led by our Honorable Favour Williams, Minister of Education and Youth, Permanent Secretary Mrs. Maureen Dwyer, Dr. Cassan Troop, Chief Education Officer, and they're joined by Mrs. Terry-Ann Thomas Gale, Deputy Chief Education Officer of Examinations and Assessment Administration and Services Branch, Mrs. Stacey Witter-Bailey, Manager of the Student Assessment Unit. Once again, thank you for joining us as we embark on this enlightening journey together. I will now hand over to our Honorable Minister, Mrs. Favour Williams, who will present the overall report on the results of the primary exit profile examinations. Minister.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Let me acknowledge Mrs. Maureen Dwyer, our Acting Permanent Secretary, Dr. Cassan Troop, our Acting Chief Education Officer, Dr. Clover Hamilton, online, our Acting Deputy Chief Education Officer in the Curriculum and Support Services Division, Mrs. Terry-Ann Thomas Gale, Deputy Chief Education Officer, Examinations Assessment and Administration Services, Dr. Tamika Benjamin, National Mathematics Coordinator, Tertiary Support Officer. We have members as well of the Executive Management Team. We have our directors from across the region, and we have members of the media. Good morning. It's a pleasure this morning to present to Jamaica the primary exit profile for 2023. We are doing it earlier this year than last year. If you recall, last year was July 8th that we gave the overview. So we're a full 2 weeks early this year, and we're happy for that. It means our processes are more streamlined. I know parents are anxious, maybe even more so than the students. But we're here to say we've completed the process. Your children have done their exams, and now we are ready to give you the results. So for background, the full profile of students transitioning from grade 6 at primary level to the secondary level in June 2023 consists of the following exams that together in combination gave us their scores. So we utilized the grade 5 performance task that was done in 2022, and in 2023 they did all components of the grade 6. So it's the ability test, performance task, and the curriculum-based tests, of which there are 4. So the grade 5 performance task was done in June of 2022. And for the grade 6, as you know, the ability test was done in February of this year, 2023. Performance task in mathematics and language arts was done in March of 2023, and the curriculum-based tests were completed in April of 2023. A total of 36,105 students were registered to sit the 2023 grade 6 PEP exams. Of that, 18,452 were males and 17,653 were females. If you look across school types, meaning public versus private, obviously the majority of our students are in our public schools, 31,798 versus 4,307 in our private schools. If we go to the placement methods used, the most predominant was the choice or preference. Then you had proximity, manual, and then there were some students who opted out. They might have sat the exam, but they indicated that they did not want a placement. So 30,984 students were placed according to their choice. That's 85.8%. And you will recall that since 2015, parents have been given the opportunity to indicate 2 additional choices to the standard 5 that they had in place at that time. These 2 additional choices were selected, they're selected from a cluster of schools that are within a 10-mile radius of their students or their child's attending schools. 4,134, or 11.5% of students, were placed in secondary level schools that are in proximity to the schools that they currently attend. A further 1.57%, or 566 of students, were placed manually in secondary schools in proximity to the address they submitted at registration. And we have a lot of statistics available. I know that this is a press conference, so we will summarize as best as we can. But when you look at the preference choices, like in preference 1, the number of students who got their first choice, 8,105. Second choice, 5,432. Their third choice, 4,378. Their fourth choice, 3,962. Their fifth choice, 3,426. Their sixth choice, 3,435. And their seventh was 2,246. And that adds up to make the 85.8% that I mentioned earlier on. We have the data broken down as well for past students in terms of how they were placed, and it reflects the general placement because past students also have choices as to which school they go to. If we turn now to placement and scoring, the computation of the placement score for 2023 comprised of 11 tests, and they were the grade 5 performance task, mathematics, grade 5 performance task, language arts, grade 5 performance task, science, grade 5 performance task, social studies. Then we had the grade 6 ability test, the grade 6 performance task, mathematics, the grade 6 performance task, language arts, grade 6 curriculum-based test, mathematics, grade 6 curriculum-based test, language arts, grade 6 curriculum-based test, science, and grade 6 curriculum-based test, social studies. If you look at the overall performance, starting with mathematics and going across from beginning through developing, proficient, highly proficient. In the beginning category, 4% of the students, developing 39%, proficient 49%, highly proficient 8%. And that's the overall mathematics. We have it broken down by gender as well to allow us to see how well our girls are doing versus our boys. And the pattern is what we have observed over the years in terms of girls outperforming boys in mathematics. So that tells us that is something we have to redouble our efforts in to bring our boys up while we continue to support our girls. In language arts, overall, in the beginning category, 6.7%, developing 32.6%, proficient 54.4%, highly proficient 6.3%. Again, when we look at that by gender, there is some disparity as well between our boys and our girls. And again, it's the same message to us to redouble our efforts to bring our boys up while at the same time supporting our girls. In science, overall performance in science, less than 1% in the beginning category, 35.5% developing, 53.1% proficient, 10.8% highly proficient. Interestingly, when we look at science and you compare the gender, our boys in the highly proficient category are about equal with the girls, 11% versus 10.5% of those who are in highly proficient. In the beginning category, we do have more boys there who are beginning, who need work. In the developing category, we have 30% girls, 40.8% boys. And in the proficient category, 58.7% versus 47.8% girls. The same message for us. Social studies overall. In the beginning category, 2.7% of students, developing 30%, proficient 65.2%, highly proficient 2.1%. Again, if we look in the highly proficient category, on the social studies by gender, our males and our girls are performing almost equal. But if you look in the other categories, we can see the work that needs to be done. So if our boys outperform, they're at the same level as the girls. So that's evidence that they can outperform. We just have to give them additional support. We also did some analysis of student performance across the years. We haven't been able to do this since we've had PEP, because PEP started in 2019, and then we had the pandemic in 2020, 2021, and even in 2022, the exams were still scaled down. So we were only able to compare, if we look at all the years, we can make a comparison between PEP 2023 and PEP 2019, because in both those years, the students would have done the same comparable exams. And that gives us a sense of pre-COVID, post-COVID, in terms of where our students are. And so if we look at 2019, starting with the curriculum-based test, which is the comparison that we have. So for maths, overall, in the proficient and highly proficient category, 41% of the students were there. If we look at that in 2023, 57% of our students are in proficient or highly proficient. So that's quite a significant better performance in maths in 2023 than in 2019. If we look at science, in 2019, 49% of our students were in the proficient and highly proficient categories. And in 2023, 64% of our students are in the proficient, highly proficient category. Of course, for the other categories, you simply need to subtract it from 100%, and you'll get the difference. In social studies, in 2019, 63% of the students were in the proficient or highly proficient category, and in 2023, 67%. In language arts, in 2019, 55% of the students were in the proficient or highly proficient category. In 2023, that improved to 60%. So we are, what did I say? 60, right. So we are encouraged by what we're seeing. And we know that going forward, we'll continue the plans, we'll continue the emphasis that we've had on literacy and numeracy. We'll continue the coaching programs that we have, all the strategies that our teachers use in the classroom to pull out students. With each child going to high school, there is a report, a profile that goes with the student. So the teacher, the new teacher in high school, the teachers in high schools will know exactly what is the profile of each child coming into high school. And it is there that we are expecting as well that our teachers, together with all the specialists and coaches that are available, to continue helping our students. Ideally, we'd like to send all our children to high school in the proficient or highly proficient category. We know that at the primary schools, we have a lot of work still to do. We know when we look at our early childhood sector, having done the H4 assessment test, we know individually the children that we need to target so that when they start primary school, they can start primary school at a higher level, and the support goes with them through primary school so that when they get to grade 6, they have a chance of being in the proficient or highly proficient category. We have the data. We have all the strategies. We need to redouble our efforts, put in additional resources to help our students achieve, because we know that they can achieve, but some will need more encouragement than others. There are many of our students who are self-directed, meaning you don't have to tell them to do their homework, but there are many others that you have to tell them 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. So we want to get all our children in that mode where they are independent, self-directed. Yes, teachers will always be there, guiding, helping, but we need them to have their internal motivation to be able to do the work. So ladies and gentlemen, that completes the report. In terms of the uploads of the report to parents, that will begin at 2 o'clock today. And we hope that when you see those reports and the schools that are named on those reports, that you will feel joy in your hearts. Thank you to all our parents. We know that you've supported your children at different levels, and we appreciate that. It cannot just be the teachers in the schools, it has to be you as well. We call on your support even more so as your students, as your children transition to high school. It's a more complex environment. It's one in which they are expected to do things on their own. They will come into a situation in which they will be in classes with children from all over Jamaica, from different family structure, different homes. And we know that sometimes they are led astray by others. And therefore, it is very important for parents, for families to be there for your students, to give them that support so that they feel free to discuss things with you, to tell you what their experience is at school, to tell you what's bothering them, so that together you can help them. So that is what we're calling on you to do, parents, as your children transition to high school, a totally new environment, one that they've never experienced before. So they're going to need you to be there for hand-holding, even as the ministry rolls out all the resources at its disposal to help in our schools. Thank you very much. Okay, sorry. To all our grade 6 teachers, we couldn't have done it without you. Thank you for the work that you put in. I know you wake up early, go to bed late. You've given of your own resources on many occasions to help our children. And we want to honor you, we want to acknowledge you, and to say thank you for your work. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. At this time, we'll go into the question and answer session. We'll ask the members of the media that are present here in this room right now to raise their hands, state their name, their organization, and pose their question. Hi, Chanel.
Hi, Chanel Spence from the Jamaica Education Service. I wanted to know about the performances of the students on the path who we did this year when we were in transition.
Who did that? Dr. Troop will take that. Ready? Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you very much, Chanel, for that question. We don't have the 2019 comparative analysis now, but we know from this year's data that the students on path perform in a similar way with respect to their choices. I think we got 84 point something. Overall for their choices, and so we want to celebrate that. We do take time out to look at our past students, how they are performing. These students are very important to us because we have to support them along their journey. And as you know, these are the students who benefit from the social safety net initiatives in our school. So right now I can proudly say that they are matching up to other students who have selected their 1 to 7 choices. Right.
Next question. Brittany Hutchinson, Jamaica Observer.
Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to know about the performance of students with disabilities.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. I don't know if we can break it down by performance, but I know how many. What about 200? 1 second. How many is like 200?
Okay.
Dr. Troop will respond.
Okay, thank you very much for that question. So for our students with special needs, as you know, we offer accommodation support for our students. So once they register for their exams, our parents have the opportunity to submit to us their psychoeducational analysis, and that tells us as a ministry what kind of support they need. And we do provide, in response to the recommendations from the psychologist, if they need a prompter, a writer, if they need a reader, if they need to be upfront, if they need to have extra time, if we need an interpreter, right? So we have that kind of service. And for those students, sometimes we have unfortunate situations on the day of the exam. And we had several of those this year where we have crime and violence in the community. Students are affected, students fall, they break their hands, their legs, and they are in the hospital. We have to turn up for those students as well and provide accommodation services for them. So for this year, we have in excess of 200 students who we provided for this year. And what we have seen generally is that they have performed with respect to their capacity, what we expect from them in respect to the psychological report that came in on them. So we are encouraged, and for those students, we also look specifically at how and where they are placed, especially if they need special services, you know, if they are wheelchair bound and so forth. We look for those institutions that they can get better support. And in addition to that, the parents and the schools do provide support in selecting these institutions. So before they come to us, some kind of intervention occurs at the school level to say these are the best institutions for you based on the services. And over the years, I must say these institutions have accommodated, and these students are doing fairly well. They are now in our universities, at UTEC, University of the West Indies, doing well as a result of the support. And I can call a few of these schools: Calabar High School, the Queen's School. They provide support. Mona High, Jamaica College. A couple of years ago, you know, the situation with that little boy who wanted to be there, and the principal turned up and made support services available for that student. And you watch his journey if you follow what's happening at JC. So I must commend our high schools. They are accommodating, and we are happy for that.
Another question from Chanel Spence, JIS.
So I know figures are being compared to 2019, but I think we have to Benjamin. Would you be able to, is it safe to say that mathematics stats on that are improving based on what you're saying?
Well, all right, just
Minister will respond.
so you want to, the question you're asking, Janelle?
Is it safe to say that the data on mathematics show that students are improving? I know there was quite a bit of concern with that subject previously last year, but I know the numbers are being compared to 2019.
Right. So yes, if you look back at 2019, only 41% of our students were in the proficient or highly proficient category, as opposed to 57% this year. I think that is a significant improvement, right? And it's it shows progress, and even if we could peak at 2022 as well. It went from 41 in 2019 to 51%, and now we're at 57%. So it's more than just 2 years comparison. We're seeing it. Yeah.
I take it that's the end of the questions? Anyone else? Well, that brings us to the end of this press conference. Thank you for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.